Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Guardians Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Chason, Laing. I'm the writer-director, and I do other stuff on the show. And this is episode 6, and it's a bonus episode. And we've got some amazing guests with me today to talk about the show. Hopefully, at this point, everybody has seen it on PureFlix at this point. It's the last episode is now aired. And so if you haven't seen it, there probably will be spoilers. So, watch the show first and then watch this episode. So with that, let me get to my awesome guests. And in no particular order here, we've got quite a handful going on today. First, let's go over here. We've got Mr. Victor Gonzalez all the way from Florida. What's up, man?
How's it going, buddy?
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Not a problem. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then also from the great state of Florida, we've got down here Cesar, Caolo. How's it going, dude?
Thanks for having me, Chason. Pleasure to be here as well. Straight out of Tampa.
Absolutely. Oh, Tampa. Is it hot there right now? Every time I've been in Tampa, I just get out of the car to get gas and I'm soaking wet and I think I'm never coming here again.
Well, it's better than being in the cold weather, and Tampa's the place to be. Also, shout out to Lake Placid, Florida. I can't leave out my high school classmates out there.
Yeah. Wasn't there a whole alligator movie with Lake Placid?
We have a lot of alligators. That's the thing. But, we represent.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on here. Absolutely. And then next in our list to introduce, we've got the wonderful, amazing producer of our show, who's just all around extraordinary. We've got Charles W. Bush. What's up, man?
What's going on, Chason?
Thank you for joining us on this episode. I got a lot of good questions for you today, so we're going to get some nitty gritty. They want the details. They want the stuff behind the scenes stuff, and you're the man for that. So glad you have you here, buddy. And then let's keep moving. We've got over here Gustavo Garcia over here. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Shout out here from Fort Worth, Texas. We represent the Lone Star State.
We do. Thanks for coming on here and doing this with us, buddy. Appreciate it. I'm digging.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you're in the car. You're looking stealthy, like you're on a stakeout somewhere or something.
Yeah, we hide now. You know how we do in Texas.
Are you outside my house? What's going on? No, just
hey, we up to no good here in Texas. We gotta hide out in our cars.
Awesome. And finally, in our group for this evening, we got our wonderful sound recording engineer here, Nathan Blaze. How are you, dude?
Good.
I had to have you here, and there's just so much to talk to you about. So really appreciate you jumping in here to talk about the sound of this whole series. So with that, guys, I kind of just going to jump into some of the topics, questions that I have. And then if you guys want to jump in there at any point, feel free to do so. So in no particular, Victor, I'm going to kind of just jump around a little bit, come to you first. Would you mind just kind of filling me a little bit on, like, how did you get involved, first of all, with this show? And then what was your experience? Because you were from Florida, you came here, it was just this crazy, you dropped yourself right in the middle of a crazy production. And I just thought it'd be interesting to hear your view on the whole thing.
Well, I had worked on an episode of Vindication back in April, and that's where I met Gustavo. And we hit it off. Everything was great, talk once in a while. And then one day he texts me to give him a call. So I'm like, okay. So I give him a call and he says, hey, you be interested in being part of this show. Can't tell you much about it. I was like, okay.
Oh, hang on. Wait. Pause for a second, Victor. Pause. We got to introduce another guest who's just popping in the show without warning to come and join us. We got the wonderful actor Kris Clinton joining us in the group. So, Kris, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on? Did you guys start without me?
Hey.
What up?
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Kris?
Oh man!
Look at all these good looking people, man. Man, you guys are good looking.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being able to jump in here and do this, buddy. I appreciate you. So we're jumping in here. We're hearing about Victor's experience on being on the show. So far, it sounds really shady. So Victor, go ahead and keep going.
I'm glad I interrupted that. Let me hear this.
So what I would say, well, Gustavo text me, hey, can you give me a call? Can you talk real quick? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. And he said, would you be interested in being on the show that they're filming? But I can't tell you much about it. He said, there's not much going on, with as far as a lot of lines or anything like that. But if
you still good?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I heard something extra. I guess it was me. No, I was like, well, you know what? I have no problem. I'll fly myself out there for an opportunity. I'll do anything. So, well, almost anything. And
hey, hold up one second, Kris. When you're not talking about it, can you mute your speakers? I think are coming through. We strive to do high-end quality podcasting here with no sound problems.
That little T-Pain coming out of there.
All right, he's good. All right, keep going, Victor. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's okay. So I said, yeah, man, I'll go out there. I'll fly myself out. No problem. I got friends out there that I can stay with. And turns out that Gustavo picked me up at the airport. I got a hotel and I did the show. So
yeah, it was awesome. Well, I do want to talk a little bit more about that, but since you have a kind of a connected link there, I'd like to kind of jump over. Gustavo, kind of give me your experience on how you got in the show, because it's an interesting story based on what you just said.
Well, it's hilarious. Of course, I was on Vindications season 3. That's where I met you, and it was an amazing experience. When you gave me your number, you told me you made movies and stuff. It was crazy because honestly, I didn't believe you. That you're like, hey, I'll hit you up one day when I'm making something. I didn't believe you. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. So the day you text me, you're like, hey, are you in Fort Worth? I'm like, yeah, I'm in Fort Worth. You're like, hey, you want to be in a gangster movie? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So, yada, yada, yada. We started talking. And you're like, do you got any people that want to play gangsters? First person I thought of was Victor. I was like, hey, Victor, I hit him up. I told him about it. And I've never met anybody like Victor that would go anywhere on his own dime, for free.
Well, don't tell the world that, man. Next thing you know, Hollywood's gonna be calling him.
Yeah, on his own dime. Everybody I've met has to get paid, but Victor will do it for free. And you, that I met you, man, the way you did this, you heard God and you made a move. You made this series on your own dime. That was a very powerful thing, meeting you and the vision you had for Guardians. And you were producing this along with Charles and, directing it. But the way you put it all together, all the pieces together on your own dime as well, it's a powerful thing. The team you put together, everything was amazing. And I'm like, wow. And so I look forward to what's next, the next chapter of what you got in store. So it was a blessing to meet you on Vindication. And the team, that I was able to put together with Victor, with Adrian, with Laura, I'm glad, that I was able to bring them on. But there was something that Victor left out. Victor, when I talked to him in Florida, he booked a motel.
Oh, geez.
Victor left this out. He booked a motel. I told him, book a motel by Northeast Mall. Well, he booked a Motel 6 in North Dallas. I told him, book a Motel 6 in Hearst by Northeast Mall. So when he booked it, when I talked to him on the phone, like, hey, where's your hotel? He goes, hey, man, it's it was over there by North Park Mall. And I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry, man. I'm not gonna drive that far to go pick you up to bring you to Hearst. He goes, where's my hotel? I'm like, man, it's on the other side of town. So I was like, man, you better change your reservation to Hearst. So if I wouldn't have told him or asked him where he was staying, he would have been on the opposite side of town. But it was a blessing to, to meet Victor, to, to help him out and to be on this show, because he's an amazing person. He's got a real heart of a person. Even though I just met him on season 3 of Vindication, I saw what kind of person he was. He's a go-getter. He's got he's one of them kind of actors that he sees something, he chases after it. He doesn't wait for it to come to him. He goes after it. Yeah. And that's a heart of, someone who chases after God, that he goes after what he wants. And that's what I see in you, chasing that. You don't sit back. You see something, you got a vision from God, you chase it. And I see that from Charles. I see that from Kris. I see that from Grant. I see that from James. Y'all chase after. So this is a blessing to be a part of this show.
Yeah. Well, Charles, I'm about to come to you because I know you got a question, but I do want to say, I did think it was funny because I showed up for Vindication because I'm buddies with Jared, and he had this part and he's like, hey, you want to come and do this, which is a whole story in itself. I won't tell it here, but I was like, yeah, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I show up and you're like, oh, you're a prisoner, you're an inmate. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I looked the part and I walk in and I see you guys all prisoners. And I'm like, I don't fit in here at all. I don't know what this is. Am I the guy who's going to die? Like, what's going to happen here? So, yeah, but I remember, Gustavo, very well having that conversation with you, but like, hey, man, are you interested? Are you local? You want to film more? And you looked at me like, you have no idea. Like, yeah, I don't know. And then I'm pretty sure you pretended to shank me. So with that, Charles, what'd you have, buddy?
I wanted to just piggyback off of what Gustavo said, because I was like, he was speaking about basically being genuine and then using your own funds. And so a little tidbit real quick, I'm gonna try to fast forward and still give you the ESPN highlights. So Chason and I met, I keep saying 4 years ago, it was 5 or 6 now.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So it is at a film festival in Buffalo, New York. And then we met and he says, hey, I'm from Arlington. And I'm like, oh, I live in North Dallas. Let's connect. We connected at a Starbucks when we got back, saw how we could possibly work together, but we couldn't see how we could work together at that time. Then, several years later, I saw something online. I jumped up. I don't know this part. Chason will have to explain this part. I don't know if I inboxed him or he text messaged me or something. I don't know about that. But then Guardians came about. But what I want to say, Gustavo, is that I use discernment, because you were saying some people say about, money and this and that. That's actually me. But Chason can attest, because I'm the guy that say, hey, man, like, what's the deal? I can't waste my time, this and that. Chason, we talked about it. I told Chason, look, this is a wonderful idea. And I said, I want to just give my time. I know it's going to be a lot. I want to give my time. Chason was like, man, like I appreciate, he couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe it. I just said, I want to do this. It doesn't matter, because I know that this is going to be amazing. So I think everybody in this circle and everybody that I met has, and you don't see that. You really don't see that.
Oh,
no. Kris, everybody was helping. I'm used to, no, this is this department. This is this. So when I felt like I was out of place a lot of times, because Kris was helping and moving stuff. And I understand it was a small set, but I'm like, no, stop, don't do that, And then after the second day, third day, fourth day, I was like, look here, let me put my knee brace on, let me get my towel, and let me just dive in. And so, but it's about the heart of everybody, and it makes you just want to go harder and harder and harder. And so you guys brought out the best in me. And I was just proud to be on it. So I just want to piggyback off of Gustavo by saying, yeah, it made me just want to go out there and just get it as well. You know, regardless of any pay of anything, it's about the success of the show. And after that, you know, everything else.
Well, I mean, and this is a great segue, but like even just talking about that, Charles, it was one of those things where, you know, I had been talking to my wife. I'm like, all right, I want to do this thing, and we have a very limited budget on how we can do this thing. I'm a firm believer. I don't get into debt for my projects. So I was like, here's, you know, this is what we have to work with, you know. And then when, you know, you messaged me so fast, we started talking. It was just such a blessing, because I really needed somebody like you on the set, because you did a lot more than just producing. Like, you were all over the place. And so, that was just a crazy time. But it was a little bit like a disbelief almost that you were like so excited to come on with just the idea. And I felt like that was an attitude from everybody that ended up joining and doing this show. Like, everybody who was there really wanted to be there and make it succeed, and was on board with the idea more than any project I've ever had. Like, it was really mind blowing. And so that attitude was really contagious. In fact, I said this on another podcast, but I was so stressed at the beginning for the first like 3-4 days, because I'm like, I've got all these people helping, and I just feel like, you know, I need to do more. I need to do something else, you know, whatever. And then, several people, I think Sharon and you and Kris and other people were like, dude, everybody wants to be here. Like, yes, we know it's hot, but we want to be here. So just chill out and do your thing. And it was huge. So, but that also, go ahead. Yeah.
And you didn't lead with a carrot either. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, you know, PureFlix, for me, I'm speaking for myself, wasn't a carrot saying, you know, because you didn't lead off with that. It was just like, this is what's going on. And then you kind of said it later. And I was just like, you know, I'm in, I don't care. Now, if you know, I'll stop right there. But it was the genuine. It wasn't a carrot saying, hey, PureFlix is going to, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to be, because a lot of people do that, you know, they're opportunists. And I really dislike opportunistic people. Like, hey, I just want to know this person. Oh, I know you. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me forget you. I'm at the top. Yeah. I deal with people like that. And it just really bothers me. So I just wanted to let you know, like, and I'm sure everybody else is just, it's love, man. I talk about it a lot. It's just love.
Yeah, well, it does, and it makes a big difference. But just to have everybody on the same page and go in the same direction just goes a long way. And but hey, speaking of all these crazy stories, like we got to come to you, Cesar, because like you have a hilarious story also on this. And I was like, I got to hear like your involvement with how you got involved. You're also in Florida, and it cracked me up because my view of it is so different. But hearing your view of it is just hilarious. So why don't you tell me how you ended up with this and your experience?
Sure. I was actually scrolling through. I saw the Hush Project is what it was called at the time. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to know that secret.
Yeah. And pause. And for the audience that doesn't know, before we introduced the name of the show, when it was in pre-production, we didn't know exactly what we were calling this, but we couldn't give out a lot of information. So for all the casting purposes and gathering crew and everything, it was just called the Hush Project so that people wouldn't talk about it. So kind of like, first rule of Hush Project is, you don't talk about it. But anyway, that's what that is. So keep going, Cesar.
Yeah, so it's like, shh. But I just kept scrolling. But anyway, so something lit up. I don't know what it was. I think it was kind of the Holy Spirit talking to me and God nudging me to go a little further. And that's when I pulled up and I was like, I don't know. So I pulled up a video on YouTube. It was Kris and Chason. And you guys did this interview and it was so official that I was like, oh, wait a minute. I want to know the secret now. So I was like, how do I audition? And then I pulled it up. I did the audition. I sent it in. And for some reason, it was just like, I was thinking about it. It was on my mind. I was like, man, there's something about this, that interview. Even when I saw Kris on the set, I was like, hey, who are you? Because it was just so official. And he kind of looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever. But it was so I flew out to Texas. I told my wife, hey, I'm going to Texas, this thing called the Hush Project. And I was like, it's real. They're trying to do something. And I'm going to fly out there. I flew out and stayed with someone that I didn't know. He was a director there, John Hammond. He let me stay. And then I drove an hour. And when I pulled up, we were at the airplane hangar. And so everybody's kind of parked along the grass, and I didn't want to get out. I don't know, do I get out of my car? Are we all sitting in our cars? Because no one was getting out of the cars. I don't know if you recall. So we got out of the car and then kind of introduced myself to everybody. And after that, it was kind of like, okay, this is a good, because you never know, you know, I don't want to get my kidney taken. But it worked out.
We'll be glad Victor and Gustavo didn't come walking up to meet you.
No, yeah. So I just started picking up and helping you guys lift things, and next thing you know, it was just a good time, and we got it done. And so I'm glad I did it, looking back.
Yeah. Well, and I left you unfortunately hanging for a little bit once you sent in your audition. And it really wasn't, I wasn't actually trying to leave you hanging. We were just trying to figure out, like, I mean, I knew you were in Florida and all that. And I was like, he can fit the part. But again, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the resources to be like flying in people and putting up on all these hotels and all that kind of stuff. And so the fact that you had that capability was just huge. And then the day that we were there, that was the last day of official filming. So I had been going 17 days in a row without stop at that point. So if you saw me in the car not getting out, it's probably because I was delirious at that point. And I was just conserving energy trying to get ready to go shoot this big hangar sequence, which at the end of the day, I'm super proud of it because that thing turned out really, really well. And you did a fantastic job. And that whole sequence was a lot of fun. I mean, filming it was difficult, and Nathan might mention some of that, but that was a little bit crazy. But it was great to have you.
I definitely needed it. I was and you guys know the story. My best friend had passed away, and so acting was kind of the thing that filled that void. So I kind of prayed about it, and God was like, hey, he's like, let's do this. So I get there, and it was it's still kind of, you're still kind of numb, and you lose someone that important in your life. And so when I go on these acting trips, it kind of fills that void for me. So when I was sitting around the table with Charles and Kris, I was telling Kris, as I messaged him, sent him a message on Instagram. I said, hey man, I had a great time, great laugh, because that's the first time I laughed like that since my best friend had passed, Scott Munsell. And so it was at that table, and we had a blast. I think we were talking about who's the GOAT, who's not the GOAT. Is it Jordan? Is it LeBron? We ended up there, but it's like, I mean, if you were talking about me laughing, I don't know about them. They probably laugh like this all the time, but I couldn't, when you can't breathe and you kind of like tears are coming down your eyes laughing. And I needed that. And that kind of set the tone since that day, you just kind of move forward, it's a new chapter. And
it was a brotherhood, man. It was, and that's another reason what I like about this project is that I know Chason, but I didn't know Chason. So I was like, is this going to be a holy roly thing? Because I love God. He heard my cry. But, I listen to different music. Some people call it, oh, you're carnal and this and that. It was natural. It wasn't Jesus, this, Jesus, God, Genesis, Leviticus. It wasn't that. And for me, I can't, that pushes me away. Like, just be normal, let your light shine and everything will fall accordingly. So that's what this was. And at that table that he's talking about, I could attest, I enjoyed myself because I'll chill out. I'll see who's who and, just like, okay. But it was so much fun. I was like, how can we do this again? But anyway, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I definitely feel as a filmmaker, there's a lot of pressure in the faith film world to conduct your sets. You hear these stories about, it's got to be this way. You need to open with prayer. You need to close with prayer. There's got to be prayer in the middle. It has to be this whole kind of spiritual endeavor during the whole time. And that has always put a lot of pressure on me. And I just really don't handle that really well, because again, when you're working with I don't want to say secular world because that just sounds weird, but just like normal commercial film industry stuff, there's a rhythm and a pattern in the way people talk to each other. And I've just always believed that if you can get your sets to just, the set for me is the whole thing, is the whole ministry of anything is the set. It's just how you're living, how you're doing it, like just be how you are normally, and then let it flow naturally. So if people talk about it, fantastic. If they're not talking about that kind of stuff, they're talking about LeBron James, and he's not the GOAT. But if they were talking about that, then that's
No, I think that's Kris. That's Kris.
LeBron's too whiny, but we're not here to talk about podcasting. Oh no, I just did it. Oh my gosh. Okay, but we're gonna keep moving because I got a whole lot more I want to talk about. But a couple questions, Charles, if we can just come back to you. Can you describe just, on set you were a producer, but you were doing a lot of other things. And I'm just curious, based on all the film projects that you're working on, how did it function differently for you on the day-to-day stuff than maybe a normal set would be? And like, what did you learn from that?
How did it function different? I like fast pace, but this was Tasmanian. Like it was just very fast, but also I'm used to having just, again, people in position to do certain things. And I said, I became like, because I'm always a team member, but I really became a team member, like, let's high five, it was very tangible. It was concrete. So I had to just ride with you. So I tried to stay close to you and see what your needs were. So it was just constant communication. So a lot of people say communication is the key. Well, I say understanding is the key, because you can communicate all day, but if we not talking about the same thing, it's a problem. So I had to make sure that you and I were on the same page with everything. And with this being our first time working together, I was timid a little bit with some things and didn't want to say something because I was like, you were so busy and going so fast. But I had to remember, hey, I'm the producer. I actually have access to Chason, so I can say something to him. So one of the examples was the guns. So
yeah, talk about that. I was going to bring that up myself. So go ahead.
Okay, so the guns, Chason said, he told me, he said, we're going to have some guns on set. They're not going to be real. I'm going to show everybody this and that. I said, okay, cool. And he told me this before, and maybe have said it twice. So it comes the day, and I saw like 2 or 3 guns on hips. And so I said, I don't want to bother Chason with this. Have you did the gun thing, or have we done that yet? Did I miss it? Was I gone or what? And so I started not to say anything, and I was like, let me just say something, because, whatever, if Chason's, he was moving around. So I asked him, I said, hey, have you done the gun thing yet? And he said, no. He said, what's up? And I was like, well, people have guns, and it's like 2 or 3 of them. And like, I don't know of them. I'm like, I don't have my gun. My gun is at home, and this is a set. So he was like, oh, dude, oh, okay, thank you so much. And then he went over there and took care of that. But I'm glad that I did. And he made me feel comfortable, because I was like, I say anything. So yeah, that's the whole gun thing. But
well, and for the audience, like, so there are prop guns. These are the pretend ones that we didn't use any real guns on our set. But on one of our sets, this is Texas, and we were using some real bikers for some of the scenes. And people show up, they have conceals or it's open carry, whatever. And so they actually had, they were pulling up with these are real guns, and we had to be like, these got to get off the set. Let's go, get them out of here, locked up somewhere. And we got to catch that stuff early, because it's safety. And then even, all the just the ability for you to kind of intuit, like, hey, we're going to need this next. We're going to have to do this next and stuff. I mean, that's critical, especially it's the only way we can go as fast as we need to go, is if we've got people thinking about different things to put it all together. And I really think we had a good chemistry by, the second, third day. I mean, we kind of had a rhythm going, and I think I agree completely with the communication on everything, keeping it moving, keeping everybody safe, and knowing what needs are happening elsewhere on set that I'm not aware of. Like, that was great stuff. So, but I definitely think that, I've seen other sets where, the producers kind of are able to just sit back and not really have to do that. But this was way more hands-on for me. It's like, you're here in the boat with us, and we're moving. And it was great chemistry there.
Yeah, I agree, and I enjoyed it. So, I was thinking, I said from the beginning, and you had to trust me, and I had to trust you. But I put myself in your shoes, and I think it's one of the difference between sympathy and empathy. empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So I said, if I had met Chason, if I was Chason, met him this long ago, and we hadn't worked together, and this project is very important, but I'm telling Chason, hey, we can get, PAs, because remember, I'm all in. Going back to Gustavo and Victor, like, we're all in. Like, I'm here. What do you need? I can spend my own money. So I was telling Chason, like, hey, we got this, man. Like, Chason was like, oh, we need a truck. I was like, we got a truck. Sharon has a whole the truck that we can use, and we have people at our disposal, because God has blessed me with just people to come in. But it was so fast, and I know Chason like, okay, let's go ahead and get this done. We're here. I don't have time to wait. So everything was like on the line, if you would say, to get this done in a certain amount of time frame. So I understood Chason's mindset, and again, I was like, okay, let me go back to being in the trenches, because you're right. As a producer, I just, and which is my production company, appointed. I appoint, like, hey, you're over here. This is the whole team. Like, if Chason needs like 10 people, I'm getting him 10 people. My knee is bad. I'm not getting under there. Going segue to Nathan. Nathan had we were at the, and I'm gonna stop right here. We were at the bar. And I was so thankful that Nathan was cool, because Nathan doing his thing, and he needed someone to get down there, undo something. It was so dirty and messy, and I couldn't reach. I was like, man, I couldn't. I tried. I wasn't going to do it, but I had to show Nathan that I'm a team player. So I got out on my good knee, and I let him do the rest. I was like, so I'm trying to, and he just took it over, and I was like, yes. And so I'm glad for stuff like that. I'm done.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's a great segue, because I was going to Nathan next. So it's perfect, because Nathan, I've worked with you several times now, or quite a few days we've now spent together. So we've had some experiences. But I'm curious, just Nathan, giving your take on how you're functioning on these sets. Obviously, it's far more. Well, it's different than a lot of sets. So I thought maybe we could hear a little bit about your perspective on filming these sets, and again, being all in and kind of doing that. And just, you're also very fast, very intuiting on what needs to happen next, and you move real quick. So just tell me a little bit about your experience on the show and kind of connecting with these guys.
This is, I think, the third project we've done together. And you work very fast, like everyone said. But having started doing like videos younger, like a teenager, kind of used to working at different levels as you get older. And of course, you get to the point where, you have your department and people, with specific jobs they're doing. But, when you get into lower budget independent stuff, sometimes you got to do a lot of things. And so I'm used to working fast and, just staying on your toes. But
yeah, hey, do me a favor, lean a little more toward your because it just sounds so much better.
I will say that Chason is probably, besides myself, the fastest I know when it comes to a filmmaker on set. I feel like you're like the character Venom, with like a bunch of hands coming out, just doing everything somehow, and it make it work. I don't know how, but I guess you got like a child here, a child there. All your kids helping out and everything. And it's really cool to see. You put 100% of yourself in it. And you make it work, and it comes out really good, really well. So.
Well, I think you do the same thing. I love the fact there's so many times when you are ahead of me, which I think is great. Like, you're already seeing, like, you can intuit where I'm going next and already be ahead with the sound. And I mean, the sound design and recording on set is really one of the hardest, and it's a difficult job, because you're holding the boom, you've got your headphones on, you can't hear people half the time, you're moving around, you have to have Thor level arms to just do that all the time. And yet you're so fast at it, which is great, because you're one of the few people that keep up with me, and it's like, I'm not hurting your feelings, which is amazing.
Oh, like it, like, yeah, I know. You're definitely, at the same pace. I can be the same pace as you. When you're on set, no matter what set is, you got to have a little bit of situation awareness, know what's going on, what needs to happen next. I'm always thinking, ahead. Okay, what's the next thing I gotta look out for? Because if you don't, then you get stuck, get behind. You're then just things mess up. You're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially knowing, I was working with you again. I knew for sure, all right, you got to be on your toes again, and we were successful, I think. So
Yeah. Well, it was huge to again have you you're available on the set for this thing. It was just a huge blessing because again, a lot of sets that I'm working on, I'm always extremely paranoid about the sound. Is it being recorded right? And I've been bitten in the behind many times because it's like you got sound people and you think, all right, it's good, and you get into the editing room later and you spend forever trying to clean all this sound, and you're like, oh my gosh, like get the thing closer or something, do whatever. When you're there, I never have that thought. Like you are literally one of the probably the best sound person that I know in DFW. Like you are on it. Your sound is fantastic.
I totally agree. Back it up.
And that part of that is because I do work on a lot of indie stuff. I know a lot of people aren't going to be able to go and do as much in post when it comes to sound cleanup. And so I try my best to get everything as clear and clean as possible at that. Because you got some sound guys, which is not necessarily a bad thing because they're used to it, but they're used to maybe higher budget stuff where they can get rid of this in post or get rid of that. My mindset's always thinking, what can I do to help the producers or the director to make this work, in their budget, constraints. Even if I don't know if that's the case, but at least, hey, I'm always trying to do the best I can to get them the best sound, because I kind of look at like, well, granted, it is one of my projects too, because I was a filmmaker, but I look at if like back in high school when I was making my short films and stuff, this was my project, what would I do? And not take that take that extra step,
Yeah.
I think it paid off because it sounds great. Like, I mean, obviously I heard it on set, but when we sat down in the theater and watched it, I was like, oh my God, it sounds so good. Did you do the sound in post?
Oh yeah, buddy. But I mean, you can take a lot of that credit because it sounded good.
Hey, great job, dude. Just mixing it in post, like,
hey, well, at this point, we've had some time. We're not young anymore. We're not making high school films, thank goodness. But no, I do kind of want to come back to that though, because again, this plays into Charles and really everybody on set. And this one is unique for me because everybody was like, I found things on your recordings that you just grabbed when I didn't even know you had grabbed them. Like later on, I'll hear this and be like, oh, can you do that again? Or can you? And even sometimes I'd send you off, even where, you're without, we don't even have time for me to review what you're doing. I just have to say, go get this for me. And then I get it to post. And it's like, I've never heard this before. I'm going to drop it in here and it would be great. And so just so many times, like you would intuit what we need, Charles intuiting needs, and just knowing like it really takes everybody coming together to plan ahead to see like, where do I need to be? Do I need to be close? Do I need to be far away? On and on and on. And it just makes everything like this project, the success of this project is largely due to the people involved. Like because everybody did do that and put all that in there and planned ahead and really went to get the best they could do, whether it was acting or crew or volunteering or whatever. So
and that's one thing that is different about you because you do kind of do like a lot of stuff like on the set, like the sound is important, and you're one of the few directors that actually is like or you're running the camera too, that's like, hey, like what do I need to get to help you to get the best sound, like as much as you can without sacrificing the shot or whatever. There's a lot of times that we're on set and they don't care about the sound guy. They're like, oh, we won't do the smallest inconvenience to get a little bit better sound because of whatever reason. But you're like, oh yeah, no, let's do that. Like you're like, you're on board with the need to get the best you can. So.
Yeah. Well, anybody who has to sit in a sound room or on a computer trying to clean sound for hours and hours and hours will learn to appreciate the sound guy. In fact, if any new filmmakers come up to me and like, what do you recommend? I'm like, get somebody who's fantastic at sound. Like, forget the rest, throw the budget entirely at that. They will save your life. So But yeah, that's great. I got we're gonna move along. We got a little time left. I have a few more questions, then we can jump in if you guys have something you want to talk about that as far as the show. But I did want to not leave you hanging down there, Kris, because you're at the bottom of my screen. I wanted to hear just your feedback. You had the privilege of working with all these people on screen. I just thought, what was your experience with these guys from the actors' standpoint, where you're in a lot of scenes and you're working with all these different people? What was your perspective on it?
My perspective on it was, I was really surprised at, I guess, just how well everyone kind of came together so quickly. And, I've never been kind of part of the casting process. I've always been on the other end trying to get into a film, but just everyone kind of came in with the seriousness, professionalism, friendly camaraderie. Like, it was just, like I said, meeting Cesar, it was, he sat down and, I felt like we had known each other for a while. And, meeting Victor, once I got past the height and the tattoos, I was no longer afraid. But, meeting somebody taller than me is not, I was just like, holy moly, like, that dude's actually nice. Like, wait a minute, let me go back and talk to him. And, as far as Gigi down there calling me OJ, once I got past that, that was too. So, no, but I was really, you and I talk a lot. So I kind of knew how big this project was. And so I knew that I wanted to come kind of prepared and ready to go. I've worked with you before. And, I mean this in the most complimentary way that I possibly can, but you aren't for everybody. And so the fact that you kind of came, I know the speed that you like to work. I know how you work. I know how you direct. I like, and not everybody can keep up, and I was just very pleased and impressed with each and every person that came on working with you for the first time, and I just thought they all did a great job.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really have. It's one of the, actually, I can honestly say this is the only project that I've ever done that I don't have regrets with the people that I had casted or crewed or whatever it happens to be, volunteers, locations. It really was a miracle experience where everybody was just, I was really thrilled with everybody who was on set. It made a very fast-paced production feel way less stressful than it could have. Because yes, we were flying, but it was fun. No, I did need to sleep after that whole thing, but it was fantastic. Like, everybody it was fun to be on set with everybody. Like, it was an enjoyable experience. There wasn't anybody driving me crazy, and that was great. So with the time that we have left, I've got one more question for everybody. And then if you have anything, we'll grab it before you left. So think about it now, and then we'll get to that. Now that the show is done, it's been aired. You guys have all seen it in the theater, and you got to have fun with that at the premiere. But then also, now it's aired on PureFlix, and everybody's seen it, and hopefully it's blowing up. Crash PureFlix or whatever, in a good way, not a bad way. I'm curious, like, one, did the show meet your expectations based on being there in production and then having no idea what it was going to turn out with? And two, is a show what you pictured? Like, does it feel the way you pictured it? And I'm just curious to see, like, how close was the vision of what you were painted compared to what it turned out to be? So we'll just kind of go around the group here. So Charles, we'll start with you and kind of move around.
Okay. Yes, the visual and being on set, it matched for me. I did have some, thoughts, because I've been on a lot of sets and been apart, and I was looking at the way you were shooting. I was like, okay, the camera, the lenses, everything is there. I'm a technical guy, so I'm like, okay, everything is there. And I was like, he's shooting handheld a lot of the times, and I say, we're doing this and that. He seems like he knows what he's doing. I said, we're gonna see. But again, what got me was the welcoming to this whole project. And Kris, you were so welcoming. And when I found out that this was like a family, like, you know, you guys have worked together before. I was like, man, I'm on the outside. I could be, you know, treated badly when you're a new person coming in, you know, you get hazed or something. But anyway, thank you, Kris, for that welcoming thing. I wanted to just say that because you were the first person that made me feel good. Because again, I'm quiet until, you know, and then everybody just like goes in. So that's good. So yes, when we did the premiere, looked at I was blown away because I saw when that you sung Nathan's praises first and foremost, and I was like, okay, he's singing the guy. You know, you do this, you hear this, you know, we don't know if it's going to happen. He could just be talking. I saw Nathan doing his thing. I saw Chason running around, turning the camera. I got this all on behind the scenes, which I'm going to release something soon. Like, it's just crazy. But I got you doing all of that, and I was like, let's see if it matches. People, if you haven't seen it, it matches.
It's an art form. It's beauty through chaos.
Yeah.
Let's jump over. Cesar, what about you?
Sorry, I had to mute for a minute because I have a thunderstorm. I don't know if you could hear the rain. It's slowed down, so that's good. Perfect time. No, when I got there, like I said, we were at the table. We did the quick rehearsal, and I practiced this one way. And, you know, I'm thinking like, okay, I got this down. We're going to do it this one way. And then we did the run through, and I didn't know anybody there. Luckily, it was an inviting circumstance, and the people were just, you know, ready to just be friendly and things of that nature, but you never know where you're going to end up. And then all of a sudden we did the run through, and you're like, Cesar, that's great, but I want you to do it the complete opposite. You didn't say that, but that's exactly what your direction was, according to how I prepared. So I'm like, okay, cool. I sat down, we had the table, everybody was laughing. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, you come in, all right, let's go, let's get it done. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So we get in there, you say action. And I've been on several sets, and that was the fastest I got through as far as like how he said, how you're just bam, bam, bam. And it went so fast that I'm like, what happened? Next thing you know, I'm in my car on the way back, and I'm thinking like, what just went down? I didn't have time to process it. I'm like, did I have another take? Did I ruin everything? Like, what did I do? And I was like, well, I know that they call me or something else, you know, it must have been okay. And then when I got the red carpet premiere invite, I was like, okay, we did something happen, you know. So when we got there, and that's when I met Victor and Gustavo and everybody, and like Kris and Charles and everybody saying it, everybody's just so friendly. And people don't know that that's not the case on every set. And even better, it's faith-based, which is unbelievable that everybody's kind of got their own call and God has them on their own path. These things just don't happen. And what I love is we're breaking the mold. This project in itself, it's faith-based, but we're breaking all the rules, right? We're not preaching to the choir here. And to me, now I can say, hey, all my friends, go watch it. Even the ones that say, well, I'm not going to watch this, The Chosen or this, you know, these stories. I'm like, no, you could watch this. Anybody could watch this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I've on your few takes, you know, I'm a big fan of I prep way ahead of time. So I already know what we need to, you know, I know what it needs to be like. I know what I need to see. And I'm a big fan of once you get that, don't screw around wasting time, move on. And especially with something like this, where it's like we're already, everything is super tight. So if you land a good take, you know, you might get one more, but then you got to move on and get stuff done. I dream of the day when I could be like, all right, we got 3 really good ones. Now let's try to get some creative stuff here. Let's try to do something different. I don't know if I'd actually be that way though. I think I'd be like, why are we wasting everybody's time? We got it, move on. And somewhere David Fincher's like dying. I don't know. For those of you who don't know, David Fincher does a lot of takes, like 70 plus takes. So I don't do that. Anyway, Victor, let's go ahead and come to you.
Well, the one thing I do want to talk about is my very first fight scene was Guardians.
Awesome.
And ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to do like fight scenes and stuff in movies. And to be able to do something like that was great. You know, especially seeing it on the big screen, because that was the first time I've ever seen anything I've ever done on the big screen. And I was just like, You know, though, I mean, it was great. And the way everything was filmed was not what I expected. You know, the way, you know, everything was being filmed and then seeing it together was like, wow, this is definitely way better than I thought, you know, it was going to be. But with the fight scene, and one thing I want to tell you that I didn't tell you on set, we had 2 bottles, right?
Yeah.
It was only 2 bottles that we had. So we only had 2 takes. The first one, I remember you said, okay, that was great, but let's do it one more time. And I was like, okay, that's not bad, you know, because when you hit me, we rehearsed it a few times.
Yeah.
No problem. But the second time, when instead of when Grant hit me, he didn't hit me with the long part of the bottle. He ended up hitting me with the bottom part.
Oh no.
And the bottom part was thick. And when that hit, when I fell, that was for real. I laid there until you said cut, and I was like, oh, dude, I had a knot for like about a week.
Oh no.
But I didn't say anything because I was like, no, it's part of the job. But let me
Signed
tell
a
you,
waiver.
Oh
What?
man.
I said you
Yeah.
signed a waiver.
yeah, when I was on the ground, I literally went to see if I was even bleeding because it was. I mean, he hit me hard. I was like, good God, that really hurt. But it was worth it. After seeing the whole thing, it was great. And then seeing Gustavo getting kicked, that was great.
Well, Gustavo will come to you since he called you out.
You know, this right here, what I love about it is not only that it's faith-based, is that it appeals to everybody, not just a certain group. After seeing it on the big screen, it doesn't just appeal to people who go to church. It appeals to gangsters. It appeals to motorcyclists. It appeals to everybody. So you can go out and tell your friends, whether they ride motorcycles, whether they're in the streets, whether they do drugs or whatever. You can tell everybody, hey, you know, there's this faith-based movie. Well, it's not for me because I don't believe in God, whatever. Well, you don't have to. You can still see it. And when I seen it, yeah, it was more than what I thought it was going to be. I was just like, wow. When the pieces came together, it was like, it was more than what I imagined. I was like, wow, you really put the pieces together to make it this faith base and what everything was like. You got to have faith, you got to believe. And it made me think about where I stand and my faith and if I believe. So everything that Grant was talking about and James was talking about, it made me really start soul searching myself. So I'm like, you know what? This movie is not only speaking to everybody else, it's speaking to me. So I loved, you know, what you put together, the vision and everything. So it's like God is speaking to other people, but he was speaking to me at the same time. So, you know, I appreciate what you did. And, you know, there are many people that this movie's going to reach.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And well, I'll save my words, but I couldn't agree with you more. But we'll talk about maybe that in a minute. Nathan, let's let you have a shot at the answer.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, like I knew that it was going to be good. You know, having worked together before, you know, seeing this stuff, what we put together, I knew that I just needed to come to this project and just bring my best to help you, you know, elevate it. And yeah, it met my expectations, and I think it exceeded. And I think it's probably one of the best things we've done, man.
Awesome, I'll take that.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what happens next. You know, so, but yeah, no, I think it's 100% exceeded my expectations, and
Awesome, Kris.
Hey, Chason, let me cut you off real quick, Chason.
Go ahead.
I just forgot. I left this out. This has been the only set that I've been on where everybody's been family, where everybody's actually gotten along and actually talks to you. Because I've been on many sets and everybody's just there. They're just on their phones. Nobody cares. But this one, everybody is willing to talk to you, get to know you, want to hear your story. And it's just like, you know, they just really want to laugh and be sincere. And that was the amazing thing. It's like Kris talking to little OJ, you know, Kris, and you know, Nate Newton, you know, Charles, and talking to you, you know, the Jonas brother, you know, you right there, or the or the diva, you know, Victor, you know, everybody was sincere. You know, they weren't fake one bit. And that's what I loved about it. You know, everybody, when you share your story, they weren't like yada, 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 whatever, and walking away. Everybody's like, whoa, you got a story? What else you got? And then they share their story, their testimony with you. And it's like, man, they became family. And, you know, you talk, hey, man, if you ever going through something, let me know. I'll pray with you. I'll pray for you. And it's like, man, this has been the only set. And it's like, man, everybody's kept in contact. And I'm like, everybody else, the other sets I've been on, is like, they just chunk dupes and whatever. If I see you, I see you. If I don't, whatever, you know. So, you know, that's the other thing that is like built a family on this one. So I appreciate that too.
And I'll say, having been on multiple of his sets, they're all like that. And I think a lot of it does have to do with just the DJ and his personality. And it draws those people, or I don't know if you pick them out or what, but yeah, it's like that.
I appreciate that. Before I jump on that, Charles, I know you wanted to say something, and then Kris. So Charles, if you want to just jump in now, I don't know if did you have something else?
Yeah, it's going to be very quick. And like really quick, I'm gonna go fast with this because I'm actually want to ask about the red carpet event and just see what you guys. How I got a question about that. But who was the guy what was the guy name that said it's limitation? What's that guy name?
You mean Willie?
Okay, that's his name. Okay, so when we were outside when we were doing the fight scene. And we had to be quiet on the set. It was me and him talking. And I really wish he was here to explain it. It may not be funny to you guys, but I got to say it. It was so quiet and it was very eerie, like at night. And we were in the corner by a tree, these two seats, and we were talking. And he asked me what church I went to. And I was like, well, I don't go to actually a church anymore, you know, for COVID, but I went to Potter's House and Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, whatever. And he was like, yeah, you start talking about church. And we got in an in-depth conversation about Christ. And he getting to know me, and it was good. And a leaf started falling down out the sky. And what you guys don't know about me, if anything touches me, I got this thing with everything with just, I don't know what it is. And in the middle of our conversation, it hit my neck, and I said, God dang. I didn't say that. I said, God. And he busted out laughing so hard because we were talking about Christ, and I cursed in the middle, and that was the end of the conversation. I wanted to say that. That was so funny. Okay. Now, guys, about the premiere.
First of all, before you jump into that, now you just told every single person on set that listens to this podcast to bring leaves, to walk up behind you when you're talking and just.
Got a couple.
No, you're gonna chop it up. You chop it up, X that out. That was for you guys. That was just for you.
Okay.
So the premiere, Chason did so much on as far as production, and I was like, okay, I'm in the trenches, but you know, Chason was more, man, I got to get this done, and he was everywhere. When that stopped, I got in Chason's shoes for the premiere, and I was like, oh my God, this is just a lot going on, trying to get people together. I had a person from the Rangers to be able to be a part of it, and it's a lot of stuff was going on. So it's like, man, getting media there, and it was really crazy for me at that time. And Chase was like, "Oh, okay, you know, kind of like you see how I'm like, yeah, you know, it's tough." So my thing is, I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about the premiere? And to I think Nathan said that was the best thing he's ever done. That's how I feel too, because I've done a lot of great things, but it's been like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. This is a whole series. It's my first series, and I've did several red carpets, and this was my first time it looking like this. But I'm about feeling. It could be 40 people there, and if you feel good, I'm happy. So my last question is just want to go around and see what you guys thought about the feeling of the event in itself.
Cesar, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm first. All right. It was, I'll tell you what, when you're sitting there and it's a packed house and the show that you're on is on screen is one of the most surreal things. I mean, for me, and many of you might have already had like plenty of these, whatever, but as far as that moment, I'll never forget it. But what stuck out was the details. The vibe was crazy. There was a buzz there. It was that low rumble that you hear in all these big award shows, but it was there. We captured it. It was in a bottle, right? But what stood out for me, not only was the details, but for instance, there was a video, and I didn't know this till I got home, but we did a selfie video. I put it on social media. Kris was in it, and I forget the lead actress.
James?
What was her name? And
oh, the girl, Alethea?
Alethea, yes. And so we did this video, and we're filming it. When I got home, I don't remember what happened. I hit play, and in the middle of it, all of a sudden there was a gentleman that came up from the back with his own camera. And it was just like you would see on any show, like just the details, the buzz, it was just amazing. And like I said, I haven't been to an award show that made me feel the way that felt. And so, you know, hopefully there's many more. And this is just the beginning for all of us.
Awesome. We'll go to Gustavo next because I don't know what you're doing, buddy, but it looks comical. So.
I'm playing with the leaf for Charles.
Wow, he's out there with the horticulture.
Man, being at the premiere, it was amazing seeing everybody's family, getting to meet everybody's family. It was just a powerful thing. It was heartfelt. I know my family, my wife, you know, my kids, they go to bed at a certain hour. That's why my wife and kids couldn't go. But it was just powerful, you know, seeing it on the big screen. But just seeing everybody there and enjoyment. It wasn't about the free bag of candy and the free drinks. But it was just I really enjoyed the premiere, and Charles and Sharon, you know, how they put everything together, the red carpet, you chasing, everything y'all did. It was I was just speechless of how y'all put everything together, and you know, I look forward to working with y'all again, working with everybody, all the actors, with you chasing and Sharon, Charles, future projects with OJ and Seth Rollins, you know, Dean Ambrose, everybody, with my limo driver right there.
Season 2.
Yeah, with Biggie right there, Nate Newton.
Yeah.
The diva, you know, Victor.
Yeah,
I look forward to, you know, seeing y'all more red carpet premieres. But it was just powerful, you know, seeing everybody's, you know, just seeing everybody. Everybody was happy. And that just, to me, I don't know, it's just a memory. Stuff sticks with me, so I just replay that in my head all the time. Just seeing everybody just excited to see the premiere.
Yeah. We're going to keep it moving, guys, because we're going to run out of time, but I do want to let everybody answer. So we'll go real, you know, faster, but Victor, will come to you.
Just like Cesar had said, it was an experience for me as well. You know, you always dream about stuff like that, and to actually be there, all the people, the picture taken, and my wife and I mean, we enjoyed it so much fun that I still looking back, through the pictures that we took and pictures that I see online, and I'm still like, wow, did I really experience that? You know, that was my first time. It was great. And then hanging out with all the actors and meeting the people. I mean, it was just great. I mean, I was like grinning ear to ear, you know, the whole entire night. It was so much fun. It was really good.
Awesome.
I can't wait to do it again. Season 2, huh?
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
I'll be your cartel guy, anytime.
Yeah, it was great. Like, I have to say, like, I've been to a couple of premieres, and like, it was definitely put together. Like, it felt professionally put together. You know, I didn't know how many people was going to be there, and I will say, like, we had a good crowd. You know, because you never know. Because I've been a couple where it's like, oh, it's just like a couple people, and someone's like, oh, it's more people. There was like a lot of people. I mean, I don't know how many people were there, but it seemed like we're basically packed out. It seems like. But yeah, I'm glad you guys did that Stupid Movie Girl, because that's my favorite theater chain. That was a good choice. I don't know if that was on purpose, Charles, or who did that, but that was a good choice. And yeah, it was nice to remember that for sure. I think we all sat there and were like, no, we can be really proud of this project, because you don't know, not all of us like that.
Yeah. Mr. Kris Clinton.
A big shout out to Charles and Sharan. They did an amazing job. For me, it was a lot of fun. The energy was fun. My mom got a chance to experience it, and just watching, you know, the excitement of the guys, you know, Victor, Gustavo, and Cesar made it a lot of fun as well too. And Charles, I thought you guys just did an amazing job as far as getting so many other people involved, you know, as far as, you know, having a red carpet, having people interview you, having a videographer, signing the autographs. Like, it was just, I mean, it was superb. So kudos to you all. I mean, giving away laptops, like, we have to talk about that too, giving away laptops and beats, and just, you know, one other thing quickly, just the energy of how the movie was received as well too. So that kind of topped everything too. You know, Arlington is not right around the corner for me, so pretty much everyone that came and saw it didn't feel their time was wasted. So, and they just, I mean, even if I wasn't in the picture, meeting some of the other cast members was a big deal to them. So
awesome. And yeah, I mean, I'd definitely take the minute to throw that out to Charles and Sharan, who really did work really hard, and it was great. And I love the fact that you guys just took it and ran with it. And I did a few things, and that was, I mean, you basically had it all covered, which is wonderful for me, because I was so tapped out from, you know, the actual post of the show. And, you know, as far as the premiere goes, the experience, I don't, oh, hang on, Kris, can you mute? Or who's that? Gustavo, it might be you. I'm hearing feedback. But no, I'd say I don't, the premiere for me is a little different maybe than everybody else, because I've already seen it 1,000 times, and I know the whole show by heart, and I have every line, every beat. I mean, I just know it. And so I don't really watch the show for fun. Yeah, it doesn't do for me. I enjoy seeing it. It's cool. I enjoy hearing it. But my favorite thing is just watching the experience of other people in the room and just watching them enjoy it. And so we might have to edit this. My dog just barked, so somebody might be at the door. I don't know what's going on. Cassie, she's doing something. But no, all that to say, like, it was wonderful to watch everybody. There was a clear buzz. Everybody was there. That was fantastic. You know, they were having a great time. And I went and made sure to say hello to every single person, and they were all having a great time, and that was fun. And this is the first time I've done a premiere where there wasn't some trepidation. Like, I wasn't having to pull teeth to get people to come. Like, it was kind of flooded, where I you know, it was a great experience. I loved it. So yeah, again, shout out to you know, Charles and Sharan for doing that, because Charles, you did a great job putting that together, and yeah, your work was noticed and felt for sure by all those people, and I couldn't appreciate you more for that. I did want to kind of end with just a couple notes that you guys have said. I appreciate you saying nice things about me and my Tasmanian sets, and that sort of thing. At the same time, I do want to say, the reason why to get you guys on this podcast and kind of separate it from the episodes is because I wanted to have some time to actually talk to you in a longer form, because the people that are involved are what made this show good. It's like it's one thing to write and have an idea. It's one thing to direct or go fast, but the people that you get that pour their energy into a project or bring their talents into the project and that come from long distances to be in the project and have that kind of heart. This is why the show is what it is. And I think that's typically the case on most of my projects, but this one in particular, that was why the show I thought was so successful, is because it had that heart from everybody pouring into it, and it was felt. It's easily felt because the people who watch it really enjoy it and have a fun time, and I feel like they can feel it through the screen in a weird way. I can't really explain it outside of that. And then it's just as far as like, Nathan, you mentioned like it kind of feels like family on set. I think that's critical for me to have people feel that way when they're on any of my sets, because my philosophy is you just work harder than everybody else, or try to, and then try to be somewhat aware of everybody else to try to take care of everybody else. Think about, what do they need? Do we need breaks? Do we need this? What is it that we can do to make this better? And I really take that to heart, like, because my wife will tell you, like, and you guys have been there, so like, if I'm calling BS here or something, but like, I don't sit much on my sets. I'm usually very busy, very active. I'd rather have everybody else sitting, because it's like trying to, shepherd is a horrible word, but like, just make sure that the people that are there, like, we're doing this, we're all this together. I want to make sure everybody is taken care of while we're doing these things as best I can. And then never ask anybody to do anything that you won't do yourself, which I really wanted to have a bottle busted over my head, but I only had so many props, and I was like, I'm going to save them. So I actually have one bottle left that one day maybe I'll get lucky enough and I can bash this thing on my head, because that was like a bucket list item for me, and I still haven't done it.
Make sure you don't use the very end.
Apparently, the very end.
Not.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Yeah, you would not think the sugar, because they're made of like sugar, and they're like, I don't know the magic of it, but anyway. But yeah, so anyway, guys, we're gonna wrap this thing up. But I just wanted to thank you all for jumping on this bonus episode, for being a part of this show. Obviously, we hope for Guardian season 2, and we can take this Tasmanian road show on the road, and kind of do bigger, better. I'd be really excited. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for jumping on here. And anybody got any final words you want to say before we out of here? Anybody want to close this out? Charles, you got your hands up.
I just want to say there'll be several posts coming up that you guys can share, that you can steal, that you can do everybody to get all the eyes on this, because this is going to be major, and let's do it. Like, I'm gonna put out, I have a lot of behind the scenes that I haven't had a chance to give to Chason yet. Chason, I have it, sorry. But I'm going to,
at this point, we're going to the Facebook page, buddy. We need it all in there. We need to share it on there. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it all on there, so you guys just have a way with it, and let's just make it successful from here. That's it, man. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely. Nathan?
I just want to say, thanks Dan for having me, dude. It was a pleasure, and I really look forward to season 2.
Well, fantastic. You're gonna be stuck with me now, dude. I can't think of anybody else. I'm gonna try to do it not in the middle of summertime in Texas, though. Let's try that.
Yeah, right.
I think this is the second project that was in the middle of summer, so I don't think we got a track record.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening to the podcast. Please watch Guardians. We hope that you enjoy it, and stay tuned. We still have at least one more bonus episode coming, and so tune in for that one. And until next time, thanks again.